Oh, we got some breaking news at the Katie Phang News Channel, and you know I love me some parking lot lawyer Alina Habba news. Dear Alina, you've been served. So, Mayor Ras Baraka, Newark, New Jersey mayor, suing Alina Habba and Ricky J. Patel. If you don't know who Ricky Patel is, he is the special agent in charge of Homeland Security investigations in Newark, New Jersey. Mayor Baraka suing Alina Habba and Ricky Patel in the United States District Court for the District of New Jersey. The two of them, Habba and Patel, being sued in their individual capacities. And we'll get to that in a second as to why that's so important, but it is critical that they're being sued in their individual capacities. So, as I said, it's a lawsuit. It just dropped, filed June 3rd, 2025, today, filed by Mayor Baraka. This is the complaint. It is a 17-page complaint and a jury demand. So what does that mean? That means that Mayor Baraka is demanding a jury trial. He wants a jury to get the evidence and to rule in his favor and to render a verdict against Habba and Patel. It is in federal court. So for those of you that always follow along as we go back to law school here at the Katie Phang News Channel, it is really good to be in federal court. Why? Because there is an efficiency and a uniformity and a speed by which things are handled in federal court. State court can get a little crazy sometimes. Here in Florida, circuit court, we call it circus court. It's a little wild, wild west, but in federal court, there is order. And honey, there is speed. And Alina Habba cannot fuck around and play games. So let's talk about this lawsuit from Mayor Baraka. As I said, it's 17 pages. So Baraka is suing Alina Habba and Ricky Patel for false arrest and malicious prosecution, but he's also bringing a single count against Alina Habba for defamation. So, as it's being alleged, Habba and Patel are being sued in their individual capacities because even though they may have official positions, they were, quote, acting outside the scope of their employment or outside of the scope of their functions in their official capacities when they violated his rights. Now, the lawsuit's great. I invite you all to read it. I will link it on Substack, and I will make sure that it's available on my social media platforms. But when you read it, it'll be very clear. Mayor Baraka is saying that he was exercising his rights under the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, and that he had made public statements expressing his view that the Fifth Amendment guarantees all persons, including immigrants, the right to due process, and that with his First Amendment right, he was vocally opposing the abuse and mistreatment of immigrants by the Trump administration. So on May 9th of 2025, as we all know, there were three members of the House of Representatives, Bonnie Watson Coleman, Rob Menendez, and LaMonica McIver. They went to Delaney Hall, which is in Newark, New Jersey. And this private owner of Delaney Hall has been allowing it to be used to house detainees to further the immigration enforcement plans of the Trump administration. Members of Congress have an absolute legal right to inspect DHS facilities. So again, if it's a private facility but being used for a DHS function, it is subject to inspections because it is then basically a DHS facility. So those three members of Congress show up. They had invited Mayor Baraka to meet them at Delaney Hall for a press conference after those three members of Congress conducted their legal inspection. Mayor Baraka, and this is important, paragraph 20, the GEO group, the owner, right, the private owner, which, by the way, does a whole lot of private prison stuff. GEO group guard at the gate invited Mayor Baraka to enter inside the fence of Delaney Hall, stating it would, quote, calm the crowd, because there were people that were understandably upset that were outside the fence of Delaney Hall. They were there to protest and to express their discontent with the fact that there were people being detained at Delaney Hall. The GEO group guard opened the gate to invite Mayor Baraka inside. Mayor Baraka stepped inside the gates. This is a critical fact, people. Mayor Baraka was invited inside and onto the premises of Delaney Hall by the putative owner representative of this guard at the gate. Ricky Patel, who does not represent the owner of the property, approached the mayor and told him to leave the property owned by GEO Group, even though an agent of GEO had invited him onto the property. During that discussion, Mayor Baraka advised Patel that he was invited onto the property. Without any inquiry or evidence, Patel disputed that. Well, that's bad for you, Patel. Paragraph 24, the members of Congress said that they had been waiting and that they were going to leave that they had been waiting to do the inspection and they wanted the mayor to join them. Patel said no, and he threatened to arrest Mayor Baraka. So Baraka said, I'm going to leave. Patel said, go. And so the mayor and Congresswoman Watson Coleman walked to the gate. The guard opens the gate. Baraka leaves the property and is standing outside the gate. Alrighty. So now, here's what happens. Patel orders DHS agents to take Baraka down. Take him down. So they shoved, pushed, and assaulted the mayor's security team and those members of Congress before they violently pulled on his arms to arrest him without probable cause. They handcuffed him behind his back to effect, quote, maximum humiliation. And then he was subjected to a photograph for a mugshot. He was fingerprinted. He was interviewed for 30 minutes by DHS agents. And then here's where Alina Habba had become involved, right? Paragraph 34. At 3:05 p.m., before Mayor Baraka had even been transported from Delaney Hall to be able to go and be mugshotted and fingerprinted, etc., and hours before the U.S. attorney filed a complaint, before the mayor had been fingerprinted and photographed, defendant Habba issued a false and defamatory statement on her personal social media account. These dumbasses don't realize that they should not be doing stuff with their personal accounts, but here we go. She said, quote, the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, has committed trespass and ignored multiple warnings from Homeland Security investigations to remove himself from the ICE detention center in Newark, New Jersey this afternoon. He has willingly chosen to disregard the law that will not stand in the state. He has been taken into custody. And then she borrows a tactic from convicted felon Donald Trump. She says in all caps, no one is above the law. Guess what, Alina? Nor are you, my friend, because you have now been sued in federal court. So according to Mayor Baraka, this defamatory statement by defendant Habba, and she authorized not only that defamatory statement, but his false arrest, despite clear evidence that he had not committed the petty offense of defiant trespass. Then she went on May 9th. Fox News did a telephone interview. She continued to make more false and defamatory statements. Then Habba and Patel conspired with or directed DHS officials to promote more false and defamatory narrative about the events on May 9th at Delaney Hall. For example, the Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs at DHS appeared on CNN and made more false and defamatory statements about the mayor. And then it gets even better. The false arrest affidavit was made with malice to ensure that the evening news included videos of the black mayor of Newark, Mayor Baraka, being led away in handcuffs by federal officials. So they wanted to make sure that perp walk was shown of Mayor Baraka. They kept him in federal custody for over 5 hours. Usually, you just get issued a summons for the petty offense of trespass. And usually, the alleged trespasser is not arrested or imprisoned for hours. But hours after his arrest, Baraka finally had his initial appearance in front of the federal judge, who then also allowed him to obviously be released at that status conference. Mayor Baraka also was subjected to a pretrial services interview. I mean, guys, do you get the point here? As alleged in Mayor Baraka's lawsuit, he's being treated unfairly and unconstitutionally. They again subjected the mayor to further humiliation by taking his photograph and fingerprints again. And then in paragraph 47, defendant Habba threatened the mayor with more false charges, claiming she would charge him with resisting arrest if he did not agree to give up his right to sue for attorney's fees. Mayor Baraka refused. On May 19th, 10 days after his arrest, Habba moved to dismiss the charges against him. And then we all know, and this is great, if you guys look at paragraph 49 of this lawsuit, it is the colloquy from the magistrate judge. His name is Judge Espinosa, where he dressed down Alina Habba and the Office of the United States Attorney for the way that it handled the arrest of Mayor Baraka. And you'll remember he included language as the apparent rush in this case, culminating today in the embarrassing retraction of charges, suggests a failure to adequately investigate, to carefully gather facts, and to thoughtfully consider the implications of your actions before wielding your immense power. Your office must operate with a higher standard than that. And that was directed to Alina Habba. So count 1 is a false arrest claim against Habba and Patel, seeking money damages. Count 2 is a Fourth Amendment rights malicious prosecution claim against Habba and Patel. And count 3 is a state law claim for defamation against Habba. And then we always go to the last page of a lawsuit. Why? Because there's this thing called the wherefore clause, okay? And then below it is the prayer for relief. And what that means is, what is the claimant seeking? So in this instance, what is Mayor Baraka seeking? He's seeking compensatory damages for his pain, suffering, stress, humiliation, mental anguish, emotional harm, and personal physical injury and physical sickness, as well as damage to his reputation. He's seeking punitive damages, seeking his attorney's fees, as well as, quote, such other relief as the court may deem equitable and just. That's kind of a catch-all that we include as lawyers in our prayer for relief. That kind of gives us a little bit of wiggle room to seek different kinds of relief as the case evolves. But I have circled and asterisked punitive damages. A little ASMR. Punitive damages, folks. Oof. So Alina Habba being sued in her individual capacity means that she can't try to claim, although she will, right? I mean, she'll file everything under the sun to get this thing dismissed. But when you act outside the confines of your employment, you don't get the protections of that employment, right? So if you do something outside of what your duties and responsibilities are, kind of, veer off that track of what your official duties are, you're acting in your individual capacity. And the way that the allegations are in Mayor Baraka's lawsuit are critical. They're saying that she had personal animus, not only towards him, but other Democratic officials, and that in the furtherance of her personal animus, she took these actions against him. And he's got a beefy lawsuit here. And you can imagine what the discovery is going to be like when this case proceeds, because listen, this case will proceed. It will not be dismissed by a federal judge. But the individual capacity kind of litigation is so important because it seeks to hold Habba and Patel accountable for what they're doing. They can't run and try to hide behind the skirts of convicted felon Donald Trump, saying that they were either acting in their capacity as the special agent in charge of Homeland Security investigations or as the U.S. attorney in Jersey, right? They can't say that because everything they're doing is outside their official duties. And it also means that Mayor Baraka can seek this redress against them, and they can't say, well, I'm immune from this, or I can't be sued because I was just doing my job. The punitive damages is delicious. It's delicious. Why? It's delicious because punitives, they could be so much damn money, especially for the defamation. So this, again, has been an amazing trip of a hot take, right? On this great lawsuit. Again, check out this lawsuit brought by Newark Mayor Ras Baraka against Alina Habba and Ricky Patel in their individual capacities, and keep it here at the Katie Phang News Channel as we follow this lawsuit as it progresses along. But be mad, be outraged, demand accountability, because guess what? Mayor Baraka is demanding his damn accountability of Habba and Patel. See you later. Katie Phang here. The truth matters now more than ever. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for watching.